Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper, Flame Grilled taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day. Lettuce, mayo, pickle, ketchup. It's okay if I don't want that impossible Bow Wow bacon Whopper. Any Whopper my way. You rule. You're seasoned the J and BK. Your way. Yeah.
That probably sounded awful. Why did we just listen to you like weird?
Hold on, can I take 5?
All right, take a break.
Okay.
Use the intro to take a break. Zach, hit the intro. Hi, welcome to the Two Heavy Refs Wrestling Podcast. I'm Randy, Zach, Eddie. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people at home a little bit about yourselves?
What?
Yeah, I'm 6'8", 280, fully tatted. Haha,
You did
yes
this
sir.
joke already.
They forgot. Haha.
So this week, there was some stuff that happened this week. Bray Wyatt did a thing. Sammy and the Usos did a thing at the end of SmackDown, but I think this week we were really just going to kind of talk about whatever we wanted to talk about. There's not really going to be too much structure to this episode, so I mean,
Doink the clown.
no, okay. Pump the brakes. I don't think we're going straight into Doink the Clown, but I mean, we're going to talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about.
I'll throw it out there, just something I saw online.
Okay.
Just based off last night's episode. I've been seeing a lot of, what if we get Jay versus Jimmy at Mania?
Okay.
And I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either, but that's an interesting concept. I think they've wrestled before, haven't they, for like a tournament or something?
Probably
They probably have, but I would think that it would be after WrestleMania when they lose. The
Yeah, that would be a
titles, they would get
post-Mania thing, unless they
Yeah.
lose the titles before Mania, which would be a waste.
I
doubt it.
agree with, so kind of the way Sammy worded things last night is like, Jay's been hypnotized by the tribal chief and
Yeah.
essentially you're Roman's little bitch, basically. So I'm kind of looking at it like how that could break down. It only results in if they lose the tag team titles. Like, you've seen teams feud with the titles before, like Eddie versus Ray. They just recently did something with Cora Jade versus Roxanne Perez.
Yeah.
There are a lot of teams that have feuded in the past. But I just think with the way things are going, unless Roman literally makes them fight right now, I couldn't see that happening.
Well, the thing about that is, if you go back to like the Thunderdome era and how
Right.
the whole bloodline started was with Jey Uso falling in line.
Right.
Because like he was originally the de facto,
was the outcast.
yeah, like he was the one who didn't like the way that Roman was talking to everyone. So it makes sense that right now Jay is the one that's like, well, I've already been where Sammy's at right now. I know what he's going through. So it makes sense that even though Jimmy during the bloodline liked him more, it makes sense that for this iteration, Jey Uso's the sympathetic one.
How do they
Right.
make this make sense with the fact that like Roman is on SmackDown next week to put Jay in line, and is almost like making it look like that Jimmy is going to get something with it too because he didn't take care of Jay.
Well, Jimmy was kind of like the piece that made Jay fall into place because of that Hell in the Cell match they had too.
Yeah.
And then he choked him out. So
Well, that is Jimmy's role in this whole thing. He got Sammy's spot in the bloodline
Yeah.
too, and that's what they played off last night. But the fact that Jay didn't even step over the barricade, you had Solo come down to save him instead.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how are they going to play Roman's factor into it without making it look like he's just going to pit them against each other before the match?
I think it really comes down to how are they going to get the Usos back on the same page at this point, and that's where Roman comes in. Like, that's what Roman's job is to do. He's supposed to keep the family in line. He's going to get the Usos back together, make sure that they're a unit, and then I think during that, if for some reason Jay doesn't, then you're gonna have Sammy come down, make the save. We'll have Kevin come down and make Sammy when they stop Sammy. Something like that. There's a couple different directions it could go. I think ultimately, though, it does need to lead to Jimmy and Jay being on the same page so that Sammy and Kevin can.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to a whole them feuding up to it, though. I'd be interested in the concept of it. Like, Perfect WrestleMania, they kind of, Jay, Sammy, like, maybe pair up for, like, a week.
Yeah.
And then Jay turns on him. That's the way I'd look at it. But honestly, Jay and Jimmy feuding, or like kind of having some type of like just them disagreeing, things like that leading into it, and then Sammy and Kevin taking the titles, like, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I think that'd be pretty cool, and it could lead into more going into the future, maybe leading up for something for SummerSlam, because I couldn't see them feuding before that.
You could even do they're feuding up until the tag match, and then in the middle of the match, Jimmy leaves Jay or Jay leaves Jimmy, kind of deal, and that leaves an easier version for Kevin and Sammy to take the belts. Like,
Right.
One of them just makes the choice to walk away. And then in my head, because you brought up SummerSlam, in my head, I was actually booking it out till SummerSlam, and it led to a 6-man tag between Kevin, Sammy, and Jay versus Jimmy Solo and Roman.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
I'd like that.
That's what my head went to for SummerSlam. I don't know if it'll be the main event, but it'll be something. Because the thing is, like, is Roman going to take time off if he loses the belts at Mania?
I think he's gonna be gone for a while.
I do
How long
too.
is a while, though?
Maybe
Until
off and
Rumble.
on.
Yeah.
Maybe not like full time.
Yeah.
I'm gone doing stuff. But like, what, he's gonna be in movies probably. He's gonna take a John Cena role or a Rock role. Just start going into
Really
movies.
early in his career.
But he is like,
I know he's on that level.
he is older.
I don't.
too.
Yeah, I don't disagree
He's not
that he
as
could
young.
do it. I mean, he's already been in Fast and Furious, whatever. Like,
Right.
he's already
If
started.
he's not in the title picture though, because he's gonna come off the longest reign in this century.
This is also kind of like a John Cena route too, because John Cena started starring in movies really early too.
Well, my point is though, like, we've just spent the last almost 3 years truly believing that these titles are Roman's identity. So I'm going to find it really hard to believe that once he loses the belts, he's just going to let it go and walk away. Like, there has to be some sort
There
of
has to be an
rematch.
angle where he's fighting it, get it back.
Yeah, there has to be at least one. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a rematch or there has to be an angle or a beatdown or something. Like, I don't think Roman just goes away after WrestleMania, at least right away. I
Well,
think
and
he
people-
takes time off and he needs.
People are under the belief that they don't think he's losing at Mania either.
I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people thinking,
People think he's gonna hit 1,000, which is he would hold him until SummerSlam.
yeah,
But then who would he beat, or who would he verse up until then?
The Rock.
And then who would actually take him off at SummerSlam?
Probably.
I want Sammy, but I know that's
Well,
probably not going to
my
happen.
best educated guess at that point, past 1,000 days, is probably Nia Jax, because they'll have Nia Jax come back and she'll be the new head of the table for the bloodline because she's
Actually-
in the family.
This is mommy's time. No, this is mommy's time. Mommy's been waiting for this moment,
Yeah.
and she will be, in my opinion, the first triple world champion, having both SmackDown Raw Women's title, actually quadruple.
Quadruple
Put all the
champion.
belts on her.
Oh.
This is mommy's
And she'll hand Dominic the SmackDown Women's.
She'll just
Yes.
be like,
Fight
you
Charlotte.
can,
As
you
a
can have
present.
this one.
This is a
You can
gift
have
for
this
you,
one.
Dommy.
No, but I think for real though, I think if Roman does win past WrestleMania, they'll have to give him 1,000 days, which means he could drop it at either SummerSlam or Survivor Series, because he has to drop it at a Big Four. He's not going to drop it at like.
It would be SummerSlam.
He's not going to drop it at like Money in the Bank.
Perfect world and perfect booking. This cannot happen because this person is no longer in the WWE. But everything in my mind led to believe, and Roman did not have these titles at this point
Yeah.
when we got to see him kind of make his main roster debut,
Yeah.
so to say. The only person who could have beaten something like this, in my opinion, is Keith Lee if he was still in the promotion, because of
Stories there too.
yeah, exactly. Like, he almost beat Roman at Survivor Series. This would have been perfect for him to do, but I can't, like, I know it'll
Oh,
happen
definitely.
eventually, but I still can't see him losing.
Actually, you know who could come back and beat who could come back and beat Roman by then? if all of the rumors are true, could get a cleaner, Kenny Omega,
We
Kenny
could get the
Omega,
cleaner.
Yeah.
because when's his contract up? There's a lot of rumors right now about him
Well,
jumping
that's
ship.
the whole thing, is if they're adding time on for his injury.
Yeah,
We could get Jay White would never beat Roman Reigns in my opinion,
No.
but
Jay White could
White-
beat Gunther though.
I still that happening.
Then where's he going?
No, I mean Jay White's still going to come to the WWE. I think that's going to happen
Yeah, But what do
personally,
they do with
but
him?
I think having him feud with Cody makes sense, even like regardless of world title or not.
Yeah,
Like that'd be really cool in my
And then you bring
opinion.
Kenny in, and then you have all the
And
Bullet
then
Club
AJ
leaders,
comes
because
back
then
from
AJ Styles
injury.
too. Yeah,
You have to get Finn Balor out of
Finn
Judgment
Balor.
Day
Yeah.
at that point, though.
it's all the Bullet Club leaders, 5 of them all freaking
Yeah.
versus
Bullet
each
Club
other.
worldwide, and Triple H is probably I've also seen articles saying Vince is starting to take creative control, like
Just
slowly
don't.
back. But
I don't need it.
but like
Take
Gallows,
those words out of your mouth, Eddie.
Anderson had a match
yeah,
in New Japan. Like we could hopefully get some like Bullet Club
yeah.
kind of scattering and filtering through. We could get Kenta. I like
For sure.
Kenta. We can get Al Phantasmo. I'm trying to think of more people in Bullet Club that are like really exciting to
Is
watch. Like
Tama still in it?
Tama and Hikuleo are probably going to start migrating over soon anyways. Like I think it's a perfect time to do something like this and open the forbidden door to WWE.
But do you have to have the WWE title around that?
I think it'd make it more interesting.
At some point, maybe
Just
not
have like
initially.
a 6-man former Bullet Club leader 6-pack challenge for the WWE title or something.
Actually, let's break that down too. Out of Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and Jay White all being leaders, who would you put as that leader?
Like if they reformed a group, who would come out on top?
Yeah.
Probably AJ. It would be my guess because he. Did
I
it
would have said
first.
Kenny.
I think I would have said Kenny.
Yeah, I would say Kenny.
Really?
Because of the role AJ is kind of playing right now. I mean, he's not really big, high and mighty,
not playing
world
any
title
role right
chasing.
now.
That's until that happens, though. If he stays off TV because of this injury, because he's not going to come back until after Mania anyway.
Yeah.
Like, they could do anything with him. His character is completely null and void at this point. Because
Well,
the OC's not on
It's
TV
because
either.
he's completely malleable. He could step into any role that they want to put him in, and he kind of started that whole thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
either him or Finn Balor would be probably what I would say. And the thing is, everyone would start calling him.
Well, because the other thing is, do you think that Triple H is on the side of the... Do you think the brand split's going to stay in the way that we have it, or do you think he's going to completely take it off?
I don't know. What do you think?
I love the draft. I love
Right.
everything
The draft
about
is
it.
one of my favorite things when they do it right.
When they keep it,
Yeah.
or when they do it right. But I think we should go back to GMs and like a fully official draft, not just Adam Pearce running between shows. And then
I agree. I think that would be a really
Yeah.
cool structure.
I mean, we've gotten to live without brands before. That was that was before my time, rather. And it was where the peak wrestling was without brands. But like the wrestling I'm used to did have GMs, and Eddie Long did make things more interesting. I think Vicky Guerrero as a GM made things more interesting. Eric Bischoff made things more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be opposed to there being GMs, but like who to pick for those roles, I think is the most important part, because they do need to have a really big entertainment factor. Like when we heard about Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff running the shows, we had that like tease.
I was literally about to bring that up.
Yeah.
I was like, go back to when we were at our previous job.
Yeah.
And we heard that news, and we're like, they're gonna come on TV
Yeah, they're gonna-
and
they're
actually
gonna
be
be-
on-screen
they're gonna be
personalities
GMs.
and behind the scenes. This is like best of both
Yeah.
worlds.
And then Eric Bischoff.
It was so annoying because that would have been so cool. We could have gotten heel Bischoff again.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been awesome. But I feel like you need to put the right people in there, because I thought those two would have been the right people to put in those positions.
Definitely. I'm talking
Because
to
if
you,
the
Bischoff.
Bloodlines-
You ruined it. Make sure this clip gets to him.
Because if the bloodline does
Talking to me.
crumble, but that's why I would think that Heyman could be in that role.
Yeah.
If he's not, whatever.
He's not associated with anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be easy to take him off of Roman once Roman takes leave, because Heyman still has a backstage producer type role, doesn't he? Like, isn't he not just on air, but something backstage? Even after
I'm
Roman
pretty
leaves,
sure.
he's gonna be there every week. producing or something.
Right.
So like you could either have him continue to be an on-air personality with someone else, or just not.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk about. I think we're all in agreement. I haven't heard anything other than it, but do we think right now, as a show overall, do we think SmackDown is better than Raw?
That is
For
such a difficult question for me,
That is a difficult
and
question.
it's not for the right reason. Because I think if I looked at it objectively, I would recognize that I look more forward to SmackDown than I do Raw every week.
Right.
But when I was a kid, Raw was significantly better than SmackDown. I'm talking like Evolution was on Raw and JBL
Right.
was on SmackDown. You know what I mean? Like it just was so wildly different. So that just is imprinted in my head that Raw is
I think there's equally as much bad about each show right now that like it.
Yeah.
Yes, SmackDown is a little bit above it, but I wouldn't say it's as drastic as some people would think right now.
I think there are more attractions on Raw, but there are a couple attractions on SmackDown that make it so much more elevated and so much bigger, and Gunther's one of those attractions,
Right.
in my opinion. Like, even though you don't want him to, or want to see him wrestle Madcap Moss, you look at it and like, how is he going to make Madcap Moss look really good?
Yeah.
And there were some spots that were really good in that match. And last night, I know they had a 6-man tag. I don't know how that turned out and how that worked.
Imperium won pretty emphatic.
Right. And that's just something where it's like, I'm there to watch Gunther, but like, if I watch Raw, I'm like, okay, I got Seth Rollins. I'm honestly getting more and more interested in watching Theory's work.
Right.
Like, I have Bronson Reed on there. I wish they'd give him more and more of a push. But like, there are multiple attractions on there, but none of them stand out like Triple H is trying to do with Gunther.
Well, I think the reason is because, and the funny thing is that Roman plays more of a part on SmackDown than he does Raw, but they make Gunther's reign as Intercontinental Champion more like a world title reign on SmackDown.
Right.
Which is crazy because the world champion hangs out more on SmackDown.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
but we don't get Gunther matches on pay-per-views. We get Gunther matches on SmackDown.
well, that's what the Intercontinental title's for. It's the workers. It's supposed to be the one that's on TV.
Yeah.
So
That actually, the only person I could see beating Roman is Gunther right now. Like,
that would be interesting.
One-on-one, nothing no distractions, nothing.
Yeah.
Gunther would be the only person.
Yeah, I mean he certainly has stock right now. I mean he's not the only person, right? Like Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, like those people, if they stepped up to Roman, I could see. I don't know. It kind of depends on how you think about it. Like if Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley stepped up to Roman and they finally beat him, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be
Right.
like, that doesn't make sense, because those people are. But even Big E, if Big E returned to this huge return and was like, I haven't fought Roman, let me fight Roman, and then Big E actually wins that, even if it's clean, just based off of like the sheer size and ability, like I wouldn't. It would surprise me, but I wouldn't be like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Who's more world champion material? Like, who could you see out of right now, like in their current state, Brock, Bobby, Big E, or Gunther? Who would you put in that role?
See, the thing, Brock is always in that role. Brock
Right.
at any moment can be given the world title, and it just makes sense. See, that's just how his character's built. Bobby started to get built that way. He even went over on Brock Lesnar, like, because if Bobby didn't do all the things with Brock Lesnar that he just did, he would be lower on that list just because of how
Right.
he was booked previously. But I can't say Brock Lesnar's always on that list and then look at how Bobby just treated Brock and then not also put him at that same level. You know what I mean? Like they're clearly building Bobby to be equivalent to Brock at this. Not necessarily
Right.
by accolade, but just when they're in the ring together, it's almost the same.
Okay. And Zach, same for you. Who,
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly just because we're not going to get a Brock versus Roman match anymore because that was settled at
That's
Mania.
played
But
out.
yeah, but I mean, same for Bobby. His title reigns were lackluster to me. I mean, that's just on me. I hope that it gets better over time, and I think with the Hurt Business coming back, if they keep it that way, it would end up being better for him. Big E, I always liked him as champion. I think he just didn't get his time to make it a thing.
Yeah, he didn't, and you could argue Kofi did, but
No.
But Gunther hasn't had his world title shot yet. So I mean, honestly, and he's one of my favorite things going on right now. So I would put him in that top role.
Like, I just think Gunther is like the way he kind of presents himself, the way he goes to the ring every week, like just the jacket, like the way he stands in the ring, him being the ring general, like they could do so much with that, with the world title.
The thing is, and this is always, they've always run into this issue when someone's ready to go from the card to the main event. How do you justify someone being able to beat Gunther for the Intercontinental title while also him being able to beat, like, that rock paper scissors just doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
He loses in the mid card to then get a
like
title.
how do you get the belt off of him so that he could do that?
Have him not get pinned in a triple threat,
or fatal 4-way or something. That's such a yes,
it's such a cop
it's just
out,
a cop out. Like I hope they can write better than that. The
Well,
answer
that's
was
what I always asked for
Yeah.
when we talked about like the feast or fire matches and stuff like that led to, oh, do you want to drop your Intercontinental belt to go for this belt?
Yeah.
That would be the only kind of true way that someone has proven themselves as the current champion at the time that's able to be like, yeah, I want the world title.
You would have to put an asterisk with that though. Like, and not even necessarily an asterisk. You would have to put a rule on it, because the thing that I talked about before with the X Division title and why I didn't like it is because it was immediate. Hey, you're the X Division champion. You can cash this in whenever. They would have to put a rule on that where it's like, you can do it with the Intercontinental title, but you have to have it for 8 months first. You can't cash this in for a world title shot until you've held it for 6 or 8 months.
I wouldn't want it to be like the X Division was treated. I would want it to be, there's a stipulation in a match, or there's something like, oh, you've had this belt for this long. We need to see what you can do. Do you want to give up your belt and go for this world title belt now because we believe in you this much? Or do you want to continue your title reign? In Triple H's world, that seems like a perfect storyline for a figure to be like, hey, we can have you drop this belt right now to prove your worth, or you can just keep continuing what you're doing.
I also feel like, kind of looking at this, like Gunther introduced himself to Roman, something like whoever the champion is at that point, introduces him to Roman Reigns, lets him know his intentions to take the world title. Let's say Gunther just has an Intercontinental title match. I'm not going to say against who, just whatever it may be. Roman or whoever the champion is interferes in that. Or like also Adam Pearce won't let him go for the world title. He's like, you're Intercontinental title or champion. We need you as Intercontinental champ.
Yeah.
And then Gunther like walks in Adam Pearce's office, throws the belt at him. He's like, I don't care about this. I want that world title, something like that. But that's another point I wanted to touch on regarding like the X Division champion. And like WWE does really good with their champions. They don't like overproduce new champions. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, the NWA is now having a tournament for the Women's Television Championship.
I didn't know.
And we just got introduced to the USA Tag Team Champion last time.
Yeah, we saw that.
They're not even on live television, and they're throwing championships out left and right to their wrestlers.
Well,
and I think
a lot of these belts are titles that they had in previous iterations that they're bringing back, like the US Tag Champs. That was already a thing. That's why those belts are ugly as hell. It's because they were the original design.
Like, they're just bringing in, like, their roster isn't that packed. Like, I think it's going to get to the point where half their roster has championships, or like they just start bringing in new people for like a few match basis or something like that.
That's the outside world of wrestling though, because AEW is doing the same thing, or at least they've stopped now.
Well,
but the trios belts were kind of like the last, like, okay, you can stop now.
Well, the AEW thing was different when they bought ROH. They got an entire company's set of titles.
I'm not even talking about ROH's belts.
You mean just when they introduced because they did have like they had the TBS champion and then the Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, you're right. They did kind of like, how many mid-card titles can you have on one show?
Yeah, but because the last thing I was going to say about the Gunther thing is that, just like Eddie said, he can go into Adam Pearce's office and say, I don't want this, and go ahead and give me a title shot now. But the other thing I was going to say is we've had like Kevin Owens coming up with the NXT title, going for the US title.
Right.
We could have him Gunther could still have a world title match.
Well, and
then he could win it too, but then he could just drop the belt.
We literally had Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan, winner take all in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, but
8.
I don't even need it to be a winner take all thing.
I don't want that either.
I don't remember which WrestleMania it was.
It's Gunther as Intercontinental Champion in this match, and then if he won, he could just drop the Intercontinental belt and say, "Okay, I'm champ now. Like, here you go."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this year we should see Gunther as a world title holder. I think the
6 is right.
Yeah, it was
I think the biggest caveat to this all, and you guys both really have agreed with me, is that we need a world title split.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
That's true. And do they split the world title, or do they just merge those two into one and make a new one?
I don't think they're gonna make another new one. Because the Universal Championship is what, 4 or 5 years old now?
This is closer to 6 or 7. 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they could split them again. I think the Universal Championship can stay a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if they merged them, technically the lineage just kind of.
It's so muddied because that WWE title is already the WWE World Heavyweight title. That thing's already 2 belts.
That would be
combined.
a double merge belt.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
I think that's the only reason why they haven't put them together.
Is because now it's 3 belts technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need to stop merging belts. Like, I think I didn't like the Universal Championship, like, just when it was presented.
Like the name or the fact that there was another world
name
title?
and belt itself.
Yeah.
Like, the WWE title's always been black strap gold.
But,
I like that.
Not always.
Not always, but
there was a yellow
recent,
one, there was a blue one.
Recent WWE. Recent WWE.
Yeah.
That's how it's been. I liked it like that. Like, WWE got rid of the spinner, put Rock with his own belt, and then Rock lost, and then they got a new design, and that's kind of the design we've been seeing for a decent amount of time.
The WWE logo change.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the only thing I could see them doing is, like, this is the SmackDown World Championship, Raw World Champion, blue and red, and I don't want that specifically.
No, that's the only thing I hate about the Universal belt is
it changes.
Is the fact it changes based off what show it was predominantly on.
Right. Like, I just feel like, take one, put it on one show. Like, it has to be splitting the championships. I don't know how they would do it, and honestly, I'm curious to see if they do it.
Well, the reason why I really liked when it was the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship is because, at least from a design and even from a name aspect, it made sense that if you were this champion, you were the champion of the WWE, and if you were this champion, you were the champion of the world. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It just represented 2 different things. And I guess that is kind of what happens now. It's just when you swap out the word world with universal of the universe, it just sounds goofier. Like, it sounds like it's for children, which I'm sure it was. But for me, I just don't like the design of the belt. I don't like it's just the WWE logo in a box. And from a marketing standpoint, it's genius. It looks like a toy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also whenever these, like, the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes is sitting here, if he had the winged eagle on his shoulder, people might not know what that is, but you can recognize the WWE logo all day long because it's just right there, this big on his shoulder.
So keep that the Universal belt.
Yeah.
So if they split it and Cody wins, because I'm telling you right now, I know our reactions that if we just are sitting here, I'm just saying if they did it on WrestleMania night, but Cody wins that night and there's just a velvet bag over a belt laying there, we're like,
yeah, that's gonna be but the problem is it gonna be the WWE Universal Winged Eagle?
Oh my
so many
God,
adjectives for one belt championship.
No, it wouldn't be.
I honestly think Cody's story is that he would win both belts and drop one.
Just to do it.
I
only
think
care
so.
about this. Like,
unless he wants to be the working champion, but he's going to defend both belts separately.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be when you only have one pay-per-view a year. That's 2 nights.
I just thought of your nightmare, the Winged Eagle Championship coming back, but with a red strap.
Yeah, that'd be awful. I would hate that so much.
No, don't ruin what's already good.
Yeah. No, I mean, in a perfect world, we would have the Winged Eagle belt be the WWE title, and then we would have a World Heavyweight Championship with big
And we're gonna
gold.
go back to the red Universal Championship.
Shut up.
Probably.
Well, no, because if the Universal
Cody's on
Cody's
Raw.
on Raw, so if he's gonna stay the WWE champion,
Oh yeah.
Universal champion's
Well,
gonna
right,
stay on
yeah.
SmackDown, so that'll stay blue.
I think he's either going. It's either he wins or he doesn't. If he wins, Winged Eagle, and then he may honestly just vacate the other title.
Yeah.
But he is also a workhorse, so he may have.
If they vacate it,
I don't mean that he would have a 2-match night at every pay-per-view. I would say that he would either defend one each pay-per-view and they go back to a Raw SmackDown style
that would be.
pay-per-view
I loved
schedule.
when they did Raw pay-per-views and SmackDown.
I
They
did
pay-per-views.
started doing that again
They
and then
did.
stopped.
Yeah.
It didn't get over too well on the SmackDown side of things, in my opinion.
Not back in the day, no. I mean, I didn't
Like-
care to watch SmackDown pay-per-views back in the day.
But in the sense of that, or he could be defending one on the more Raw and SmackDown shows,
Yeah.
with then the other one being defended on the pay-per-views.
I'm also kind of touching on that. I'm talking more the new SmackDown pay-per-views,
Yeah.
like 2016 SmackDown pay-per-views.
Oh, like
Yeah, they didn't
Like,
get those over. That's why they
No,
stopped.
like it was Dolph Ziggler in a handicap match against Kalisto and Apollo Crews
yeah,
type stuff. Like it
fever
did not
dream
get over.
matches that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like old SmackDown, yeah, you had the cruiserweight division, and that didn't really get over too well. The tag division was really dry. Like, there's a lot of stuff about it, but I feel like now, and just with indie wrestlers in general that have been getting called up, it's such a different roster,
Yeah.
and there are just so many, like, we're kind of getting used to having 200 to like 230 pound world champions,
Yeah.
and also like used to like seeing them in a much bigger platform. So I feel like we could see more of that, and if they did brand split and they did go to SmackDown Raw pay-per-views, it'd be way more interesting than in the past, just based off the full
I think
roster.
we have to see we need to see 2 main champions to see how that would play out again.
We're,
Is really the big thing for me, is just seeing 2 main champions.
It's the equivalent of Hulk Hogan being world champion for both brands like they did in 2002, and he'd travel between shows, and I don't want something like that. I want a Raw champion, I want a SmackDown champion. I don't care if it's Cody for both, but give me something. Like, I want something new, and no offense to our tribal chief, but he, like, if he steps down, give 2 people belts, because he can't, like, he tried carrying all that workload. Not really, actually.
well,
if
he
I'm
did.
gonna be honest.
Like
He
the thing
did, but
is-
it wasn't.
The thing is, over the last 3 years, I have not really been left wanting another world champion.
I haven't.
You know what I mean? Like, he's done a great job of
Right.
holding it over for 3 years. Or, well, he hasn't been the double champion for double champions. But since WrestleMania, so for a year now almost, I've not been yearning for another champion. I've been fine
No.
Yeah.
because the story was right.
And I
Right.
could go for another 2 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if you're going to take the belts off of them, that's the only person I would want in that
Yeah,
situation.
Just split them up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's anyone that could carry both belts right now in the same sense that he has over the last
Well,
year.
because he has such a support system that
Yeah.
allows him to do that. No one
Yeah.
else has that right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
They could.
I mean, yeah, they could.
They could.
They could
Full life.
But-
Why do you look at your laptop to do
because
that?
I was making sure I didn't look stupid. But and I did look stupid. But no.
But you need a bigger champion to do that, because I
Yeah,
don't think, like, even if you put Kenny Omega in that spotlight, I couldn't even see him doing something like
just
that.
did it. What do you mean? Last year he did it with
Something
He was
like
the belt collector
yeah,
last year.
he just did it with like 3
I
different
still couldn't,
shows.
but him filling in Roman's shoes, I'm throwing it out there, like, sue me. Roman Reigns is the best wrestler in the world, in my opinion.
What a
on a
W-
hold on,
Listen to
hold
this
on.
WWE Mark sit here
You
and
know
try to
I'm
tell
not-
me
I'm the only person who watches Impact, AEW, NWA.
you're such a mark,
New Japan,
dude.
but
This Roman Reigns
Roman on
mark.
a wrestling and entertaining standpoint, real big emphasis on the entertaining standpoint, does it in every direction. Now, if you put Kenny Omega in that spotlight, he could prove me wrong. I'm not saying he couldn't prove me wrong, but right now, because I've seen what Roman Reigns can be as elevated as humanly possible, I think it's Roman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Roman would certainly do it better, but I could see Kenny do it, especially if he gets Don Callis.
Did you just agree with me after insulting me?
I was insulting you about calling Roman the best wrestler in the
You
world.
know how taboo it would feel to watch Kenny Omega on a WWE screen?
The same way it felt when AJ Styles showed up at the Rumble. Like, it was crazy.
Not for me.
Probably the same way Ric
AJ
Flair.
felt
Oh,
right.
imagine living in
AJ
that.
felt like he was supposed to be in WWE a long time ago, but Kenny is the guy who's like badmouthed WWE
Yeah.
and also like told himself he
Are you
wouldn't
kidding
go.
me? Any wrestler would badmouth WWE until they get the call.
Well, yeah.
Right. And that's happened multiple times,
It'll
multiple
happen every
occasions.
time.
I think
Only if we
Samoa Joe
keep-
also did it.
We have to keep Battle Cry as a theme though if he ends up
Oh
going
yeah,
into
yeah.
WWE.
He kept.
I guess
If
they're
Cody
starting
can
to
keep,
allow
yeah, if
it.
Cody
yeah.
can keep Kingdom, then he could keep that. That's fine.
Just watching a WWE show and that theme song hits,
Yeah, crazy.
that would be
Until he gets relegated to like NXT. Do you think Kenny Omega goes through NXT?
No, supposedly from the rumors that because the whole thing was, and we were talking about this a little bit last week, is that the bullet, and pun on that, was on Jay White,
Yeah.
but then the rumor of Kenny Omega's contract coming up completely shifted their
Right.
mindset over to, no, we got to go for Kenny now. We got to go
Well,
for
of
Kenny
course,
now.
he's the bigger name, and I still think they should put an emphasis on Jay White. But if Kenny Omega becomes even remotely available, they have to pursue that.
Yeah.
It depends on what they all want out of it, because both would want to be a world champion. Like, everyone
Yeah.
wants to be a world champion, but like the two of them, where they are right now in their respective shows, like they're both like
Right.
top of their game.
Well, the rumor was that Kenny's supposed proposal that he would have received by now would have been that he had creative control.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's always limits on that. You can't
Right,
just
I
walk in
mean,
and be like, "I'm in control of creative. Give me the world title."
No, but they're like, you can't push me down like
Oh yeah,
to nothing.
he can
type thing.
argue as creative. Is how they should
Yeah.
say that.
Right. So, asterisk on that too. What if any sign in with WWE starts kind of sparks something in the Bucks' head?
It would. That's the goal.
I think that's
They're taking
Right.
thing right now.
what they're doing is they're taking the pillars, the foundation of the start of AEW, and trying to get it in WWE. Because first you had Cody, and that made sense. They were smart to go for Cody. Instead of the Bucks, you go Omega because it's still a single person.
Right.
Right? Now, once you have Cody and you have Kenny Omega, the Bucks will follow right through once their
Right.
contract is over. And then you're left with like Hangman,
and it's
Adam
just
Page,
all
and Chris Jericho.
wrestling.
Who's the one wrestler, if
Kane.
WWE were to take them? Hold on. If WWE were to take them from AEW, where AEW would like totally go downhill.
Kenny.
And it is Kenny.
I would have said, well, Kenny / MJF.
MJF. Well, the thing about MJF though is that I'm over it because he really oversold the 2024 bidding war. Like, I don't over it.
Well, so the thing is that when you take the elite out of all elite wrestling,
Yeah.
it's just another wrestling show.
Well,
at that point.
Right.
the other thing I'll say about the MJF thing is that the only reason MJF works right now is because he's on AEW. He cannot do the things he's doing right now on WWE. He just can't.
No.
No,
So
he cannot.
he like, as much as I would love to see MJF live out his childhood dream or whatever and come over to WWE, like he would have to understand that like he's not gonna be the same MJF because he
Because
can't.
a PG MJF is not.
Yeah, he can't do those
No.
things on WWE, and he's gonna try. He's gonna
Yeah.
tease it and push a little bit of an envelope here and a little bit of an envelope there, but ultimately he won't tip over and peak at that level of his character that he did in AEW. Like
Right.
he needed that platform to play this character correctly, and he's not gonna get that in WWE. So I don't. While yes, MJF getting taken away from AEW would be the big blow, it would not be the big gain, if that makes
Right.
sense.
No, that does.
Well, and the aspect of it all anyway is like it would be the Cody argument, or like what he said is that he felt like he could step away from it because it's flourishing and doing what it needs to do. The same argument would be said if Kenny and the Bucks left too,
Right.
but it would be up to them to keep it going, with that, because when you don't have, like I said, the elite part of all elite wrestling, and there's no part of the elite in there anymore.
They'll still have Hangman, right? Isn't he in the elite?
They'll have Hangman, but he would be the only
He's
one
not
left.
elite.
Oh,
Which he's not.
He's Dark Order, kinda.
Yeah.
Watch that show.
But it would be something, I would say, and I don't think anything's ruled out anymore.
I think, and this is so sad, I truly think that if WWE signed MJF at this point, he would go to NXT. And the thing is, I think he would kill it there. I think he would be more allowed to be his character in NXT than WWE. But then when he gets called up, it's just not going to be the same.
I just think if this is retrospect, if AEW were to ever buy WWE or vice versa, now at this point I'm thinking the only thing that could happen is WWE buy AEW. I don't know the political side of things. You guys can correct me on that if need be. But I just like the way AEW is run from day one, or their day one, the way they ran things, it was like a competitor to WWE. Now, since Triple H like kind of took over, it's just been something where it's like now AEW's kind of in the back seat, which I didn't expect. And it's like I didn't get to live through WCW, WWE. I didn't get to see that war clash out.
It was.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be nearly as wild as that.
It won't.
But I think they need to figure, like AEW needs to figure something out. They can't keep hiring all of this talent. They need to home grow people, like they're kind of doing with Action Andretti, if you know who that is.
Yeah, they're doing it with MJF too. Like he's
right,
more or less homegrown in AEW.
Well, that's been the caveat to their fall too, is that a lot of it's gotten worse since MJF became champion.
A lot of things have. Like, he's feuding with Bryan Danielson right now. It's a good feud. Like, everything I've watched from it is a good feud. But, like, I think they're lacking in certain areas. Like,
MJF's downfall is he's a one-dimensional character. When a one-dimensional character gets a championship, it's flat. He's doing the same things that he did before champion.
But now he has the belt.
And now he has the belt. But it's only better whenever he's chasing it. When he has it, it's still good.
Right.
The MJF is still great. But it doesn't leave you wanting to see it because he's got what he wants already.
Right.
Could you argue that with every champion so far in AEW besides Kenny?
What, that they're better chasing the belt than having it? I mean,
Right.
Punk wasn't that way, but he couldn't hold the belt for more than 10 days without getting...
Well, that's the difference between any of those characters.
Moxley is a great world champion.
Jericho
Jericho is a great world champion.
I'm sick of like Hangman winning the belt was awesome, but I'm like, after he won it, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, like
you can take it off of him now.
I don't need to know how he decides to
Right.
That was the Kofi Kingston thing. I love Kofi Kingston's death. I think he deserved the moment that he got. And I actually think he wildly exceeded my very low expectations of him as champion and did a lot better than I thought he would, and he proved me wrong.
Right.
But in the moment, I was like, all right, who's going to take it off of him at SummerSlam?
I feel like it would have been the same thing, and like I'm going to use certain situations and like certain people like over history, like that would have happened if a Von Erich won the championship. I feel like if they won it, awesome, they won it, like hooray, that's what we've always wanted to see. But like now I'm done. We could, like in the 80s we can go back to Hulk now.
Yeah, just put it back. Well, that's what kept happening. Hogan would drop someone and then he would pick it back up later, like the hot potato of Hogan, Savage, Hart, Yokozuna, Slaughter, like that whole just back and forth circle of a championship reign.
Say the same for Bret Hart, like just going into the late 90s. It was just a whole...
It was different.
It was around him still, right. Besides Shawn.
Right.
Like, that's the only person I'll give to that. But, like, the 90s was designed for Bret Hart to be the world champion.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the WWE's designed for Roman Reigns to be champion. Like, AEW, that's a coin toss right there. You can't really tell who's designed to be the world champion, because I thought it'd be MJF, and like you said, one-dimensional character. Not really seeing it. I feel like AEW would be able to thrive a little bit more if they had someone where they can build around and be like, this is our champion. There's no way he's losing anytime soon.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that was Kenny for the longest time, but now they're keeping him as a part of the elite, and so he has the trios title. And
Are they still trios champ?
they
They've
are.
had that for a
Yeah.
while.
They're not really doing anything trios related, but
How many trio tag teams even are there? Or are they just
there
taking
are a decent amount.
Are they
they're
taking
versing,
groups that have more than 3
House of
people?
Black, Best Friends. I don't. Those are the two big ones.
They versed.
They're not really doing anything right now. That triangle isn't really doing anything right now.
Well, no, but because they're not going to verse
Right.
best of 7, they're not going to do that.
The House of Black are the
House
only
of Black
people.
is going to be who probably dethrones them first.
Such a Roman Reigns.
I am, dude. He's our tribal chief.
He is our tribal chief. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So you need to respect. Are you not respecting our
I
tribal chief right
acknowledge the
now?
tribal chief. I'm just saying. I mean, you're not wrong. He is one of the best wrestlers. That's more of a character version than a wrestler version. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that.
There's a lot of people that wrestle better
Yeah.
than
I'll blow
Roman.
your mind a little bit more. He has taken Stone Cold Steve Austin off my Mount Rushmore.
Oh,
I'm kidding. That was a prank, by
Yeah.
the way. I saw his face.
well,
No.
when we talked about it, I said there's going to be a time a couple years down the road where I'm going to have to kick someone off for Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns is
he's
top 10
this
right now.
generation's Hulk Hogan at this point.
Right.
He's after this year's main event, he's only one WrestleMania event away from tying Hulk Hogan's record.
Right.
So,
No, he's definitely like top 6 for me
yeah.
right now.
I think he's top 10. I think he still has. He's done everything, in my opinion, that he can do at this point in time.
I mean, the only thing he hasn't done at this point is like win King of the Ring or. Wait, hasn't he?
Money in the
Has he
Bank.
won
He
Money in
hasn't.
the Bank? I was gonna say
He has not
that.
won Money.
Yeah. I think he's literally like a King of the Ring and a Money in the Bank away from doing literally everything.
But he doesn't need.
Well, no, of
Like-
course he doesn't. Sheamus
Right.
doesn't need an Intercontinental title run, but he needs it to complete his list of
His
everything.
Grand Slam, yeah.
Well, not just Grand Slam. Sheamus has done all those things. He has won a Rumble, won a Money in the Bank, won a Chamber, won a Hell in this. Like he's like
I forgot about that.
his list of things that he will do will literally be complete. That he has done everything that you can do in WWE for his time once he wins that Intercontinental belt. Because he was even ECW champion, wasn't he? Or
No,
no,
he was
did
not.
He not.
He did
Okay,
not.
well, either way, minus that one belt that doesn't exist anymore, and if it did exist longer, he probably would have gotten it at some point. But like, that's the last thing that Sheamus needs, the Intercontinental belt.
So rank them. I'll give you guys 4. I'll give you a list of 4 things. Just rank these.
Okay.
Roman Reigns, if he hits 1,000 days.
Okay.
John Cena's 16-time World Championship run.
Okay.
Stone Cold for what he did for his era.
Okay.
Or Hulk Hogan being introduced to WWE. What's the last one?
What do you think?
My bottom of the list is Hulk Hogan.
There's no way. Hulk,
I couldn't put Hulk there.
literally nothing that has
Can I tell you?
happened in the WWE right now would ever happen if Hulk Hogan didn't come into the WWE.
Hulk Hogan put WWE on the map.
Like,
That's how I look. Like WWE was on the map, but no one was as scared of the WWE until Vince McMahon got a hold of Hulk Hogan.
Vince couldn't buy out the territories like he did until he had an attraction like or Andre,
Right.
one of the two.
Andre the Giant couldn't
But
even
like-
have done that.
But like, it's like Hulk Hogan in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, Hulk Hogan's golden era WWE run has to be the top of that list. None of the other things even happen if that doesn't happen.
Can I tell you what's at the bottom?
Probably Stone Cold.
No, I was going to say John Cena.
John Cena. Yeah, I could see that too because the thing is, John Cena's 16 world champions are wildly different than Ric Flair's.
Right.
Now, if you had asked John Cena gets a 17th world title,
It changes completely.
because I think he should. I do think he should. I just understand why a lot
I
of
think
people
the door's
wouldn't.
closed on that.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, his career's twilighted at this point, but he could do it.
He could do it.
You need Rome to have the belt off Roman. That's the only way he could do it, in my
If he took
opinion.
the belt off Roman?
No, the belts need to be off of Roman before he can
he's
do
not
anything
beating
like
Roman.
that.
They already did that at SummerSlam. Like that's not Was it SummerSlam?
Right.
It was SummerSlam.
It was
Yeah,
SummerSlam.
they already did that. He's not beating Roman for a world title.
But then Stone Cold, then Roman. Actually, I'm gonna say Roman, then Stone Cold.
Yeah, it's tough because you could say the same thing about Stone Cold because he ushered in the Attitude Era, which ushered in Ruthless
Right.
Aggression. But like it is different because of the time. Like Stone Cold's career was not that long. Like the character of Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestling in the ring was from like 95 to like 01. It was like 6 years. Like it was not that long. And that a lot of people forget about how short The Rock's main event career was too. The Rock was like 90s, like Nation of Domination, like 96 or 97 to like 02. Like it was not that long. Roman,
I think they finished in 98. It wasn't even that long.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
like The Rock's 4 or 5 year main event, whatever. The Stone Cold's 5 or 6. Cena did it for 10 years straight, and then like was still a part timer doing it. Roman came in as a Shield member in 2012. We're on his 11th year on the main roster, and he's spent of the last 11 years. 7 of them were WrestleMania main events. Roman Reigns had more WrestleMania main events than The Rock and Stone Cold had in their main event career worth of years. You know what I mean? Like, it would be very difficult for me to put Roman below either of those two at this point. From a statistical, like on paper. If you just ask me my opinion, though, obviously I'm just a Stone Cold mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different when you talk about your opinion, but if you look at it just matter of factly, you can argue it.
I'm looking at it at a culture standpoint too. Like, how did this person change the culture of not just WWE but the world? And Hulk Hogan did everything, which is why he is number one.
Right.
Like, he did everything on a wrestling standpoint and a cultural. The way, and you can say the same thing. Like, I'm not going to include Ric Flair in this list because what he did was outside the WWE, so I don't want to include him. But like what Stone Cold did in the few years he was there, and like the impact you still see today, that's ginormous. And like John Cena, the same thing. But like the 16-time world title run, like they were just all like, there was one good one out of those 16, and then the rest felt like, I'm not saying like his title runs did not mean anything. I'm just like, there was one long, like really lengthy one, and then it just was like in spurts of like 3 to 6 months, and then like some a day.
Hot potatoed with Orton and Batista.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
That era was a lot of hot potato because there was that many good guys in the company at that point.
The thing about your question that isn't necessarily fair to Roman even places that while we are post Cena 16 world titles, we're post Hulk Hogan's Golden Era, we're post Stone Cold. We're still in the middle of Roman's whatever he's got going on that'll go down in history. And not only that, but like it's still worth mentioning in the same question. One of the more important things in the first place when it comes to like when you look at legacy is the fallout of it.
Right.
And so like you look at the fallout of the Hogan era that led to all the stuff with Sergeant Slaughter, and then you look at how that transitioned into Ric Flair being in the world champion into the early 90s and how that transitioned over to like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. You look at Stone Cold and how that transitioned into an entire Attitude Era of people. And then John Cena kind of led to what we're going on right now with AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, even Randy Orton still kind of late in his career, and then Roman. We haven't even seen the fallout of what Roman's time is going to bring to us. Because there will be a dynamic change. We just don't know what it is yet.
Ask me again in 5 years.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the part of Roman's situation too is that, do you imagine WWE without him being the champion for this long over the last 3 years?
Like, what would WWE be like if he wasn't champion for 3 years?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I don't even really want to answer or talk about that is because the last 3 years Thunderdome and the pandemic era stuff. And that itself just created a whole slew of problems. Because, like, I want to see Drew have the world title in front of a real crowd.
I was gonna
You know,
say,
I think Drew
Yeah.
deserves that moment.
Mhm.
And same thing for like who else won a world title? Bobby Lashley, one of his world title runs was in front of no one. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there's a lot of things that happened during that time that deserved to happen in front of people.
That's another thing. I think if the Thunderdome or the pandemic never happened, I think Drew McIntyre could have had a much lengthier title run.
Oh yeah.
And I think maybe the Roman Reigns thing would have never happened because he got introduced to basically like, well, what? It was the Fiend and Braun Strowman
Yeah.
fighting. I think he was supposed to be the guy to be like, okay, the Fiend isn't like immortal and be beat type deal, which that ended up being Goldberg essentially.
Yeah.
But I like that's such a blur for the Thunderdome too, and just like that feud because the Fiend was supposed to be so much bigger than he actually was, in my opinion. Like his world title run should have been better. Again, my opinion.
Right.
I feel like that could have been something where it's unstoppable, and you see that compared to Roman Reigns, it's like Roman Reigns, like compared to like all of that going on, and like with the Thunderdome and how that happened, it could have been way different if Drew McIntyre got more of a chance and was in front of a live audience because when he eliminated Brock in the Royal Rumble, how over everybody was just there told me like, okay, this world title run could have been so much.
It would have been significantly.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to go ahead and stop. We're about to hit an hour, so thanks for joining us on our BS episode. You know, where we kind of just chill out. But that's that's. I mean, leave it in the comments about what you guys think about everything that we talked about, comparing different main events from different eras and all that cool stuff. Did you guys have anything else that you want to?
Yes, episodes are fun. I like it. Not having to like stay on topic, I guess, or like stay on like the track that we've been doing.
Well,
it's
and we'll
fun.
probably do more of these post WrestleMania because the story because I'll be honest, once the Bloodline story is over and wraps up, there's not going to be as much week to week writing. There just isn't. Like this was I don't want to say full blown anomaly, but like WWE writing and creative is usually not this good.
Not at all.
It's very indicative of where Triple H is at, and I think after WrestleMania, they'll test to see if it's still worth keeping up week over week as much as it was.
Right. I agree.
All right. Well, Eddie, what are our socials?
Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Anchor.
Right.
I'm going to get used to that one.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think. We'll see you next week.